Bien, enchanté.
Bonjour. Enchanté.
So, do you prefer the rules in English or in French?
In English, please.
So, you have 20 minutes to present your case to the judges. I will hold up the slide for the last 10, 5, 2 minutes, and the last 30 seconds as well. During the last 10 seconds, I will indicate with my fingers the number of seconds remaining, and if you have not finished your presentation after 20 minutes, I'll have to stop you for the Q&A period. And you have 5 minutes is allocated to the jury at the end of your presentation, or if they have questions or anything. And please note that at any time you cannot mention or make reference to your university. So you can.
iPhones, Androids. This is what allows your customers to enjoy the creativity and that you have programmed with the games that you provide to them. This is this device that allows them to enjoy it and that allowed your company to grow in the past years. This is what managerial accounting can do to your organization. It can help to structure your creativity and your knowledge to bring it to a new level and to be able to manage your growth. Today we're here, MMS Consulting, I present my team, Stephanie, Mohamed, and myself, Miriam, and we will provide you with an assessment of the current situation of Next Stage Interactive, your company, followed by recommendation on the different opportunities that are provided to you. We will also provide suggestions to the management systems to meet your needs. We will also provide other recommendations to achieve sound management for the company and to be able to manage the growth. We will go through the agenda. First, the assessment of the situation, the analysis of the different opportunities, the status quo, Bosses 102, development of the console game, Forever Play, sub-licensed game, followed by a recommendation. Then we will look at the management system, followed by other issues, the human resources management, maintenance outsourcing, management tools, and financing. First of all, I will let my colleagues talk to you about the analysis of opportunities.
En ce qui concerne la première proposition que vous avez reçue de la part de Forever Play, c'est-à-dire la proposition d'acheter 15% des actions pour un prix de 500 000 $. Donc nous avons effectué l'analyse pour voir si c'est un investissement qui est rentable ou pas. Donc la compagnie conçoit des jeux free to play en collaboration avec des sites web de réseautage sociaux. Ces revenus sont principalement générés par la publicité ou par les microtransactions qui sont effectuées à l'intérieur des jeux. Donc, selon l'analyse qui est effectuée, selon les informations que vous avez reçues de la part de la haute direction de l'entreprise, le bénéfice net attendu pour l'année 2013 est d'environ 650 000 $. Donc, nous avons essayé de faire une analyse pour voir si effectivement le bénéfice attendu va être de 650 000 $. Donc, selon notre analyse, les revenus de l'année dernière majorés de 2,11% qui représente le pourcentage de croissance entre l'année 2011 et l'année 2012, puisque selon la haute direction de l'entreprise, il y aura la même croissance entre l'année 2012 et l'année 2013. Donc, les revenus totaux vont être d'environ 2 774 000 $. Et en ce qui concerne les coûts, donc en ce qui concerne les frais de distribution, les frais de distribution sont calculés en pourcentage des revenus. Dans 822 334, 48%, ça représente 48% des achats intégrés. En ce qui concerne la main-d'œuvre directe, nous avons considéré que le montant va être constant, donc le montant va être toujours de 884 000 $ environ. En ce qui concerne les autres coûts directs, nous avons également pris en considération que ces montants en question vont rester constants et cela nous donne un total des coûts directs de 1,8 million de $ environ. Donc la marge bénéficiaire brute pour l'année 2013 va être, selon nos estimations, de 968 000 $. Ensuite, en ce qui concerne les autres charges, les crédits d'impôt remboursables représentent 37,5% de la main-d'œuvre directe. En ce qui concerne les frais de publicité, donc selon la haute direction de l'entreprise Forever Play, il est nécessaire d'investir 250 000 $ en publicité. Le montant pour les frais de publicité va être de 250 000 $. En ce qui concerne les frais d'administration puis l'amortissement, nous considérons que ces frais vont rester constants. Donc le bénéfice avant impôt va être d'environ 900 000 $, les impôts de 270 000 $, puis nous devons également considérer les pertes d'impôts que la compagnie avait durant les années passées en déduction, ce qui nous donne environ un montant de 722 000 $. Donc effectivement, lorsque l'entreprise vous a dit que le bénéfice net va être de 650 000 $, ils avaient effectivement raison. Donc selon ces estimations, le bénéfice net pourrait être bel et bien de 650 000 $. Ensuite, pour voir si cet investissement est une bonne opportunité ou pas, ce que nous avons fait, nous avons essayé de calculer la valeur actuelle nette de cet investissement en question. Donc nous sommes partis du bénéfice net de 650 000 $ que la haute direction, dans la haute direction vous a fait part. Nous avons enlevé les éléments sans incidence sur les liquidités comme l'amortissement de 12 015 $, ce qui vous donne des flux monétaires d'environ 637 000 $. La quote-part que vous avez de ce flux monétaire en question est de 15% puisque vous allez acquérir 15% de l'entreprise, donc environ 95 000 $. Et puisque cet investissement est considéré comme étant risqué, nous allons vous expliquer les faits tout à l'heure, nous avons choisi un rendement souhaité de 15% puisque l'investissement est risqué, ce qui vous donne à peu près un montant de 637 000 $. Donc le montant proposé par l'entreprise de 500 000 $ est raisonnable. Cependant, même si selon l'évaluation quantitative, ce projet est évalué comme étant un projet rentable, nous devons considérer d'autres éléments. Selon l'actif net de l'entreprise, donc l'actif net est négatif, il est de 101 000 $ négatif. Nous vous recommandons également, si vous voulez aller de l'avant avec cet investissement, vous devez faire appel à un expert en évaluation pour vous faire une évaluation de l'entreprise. Également, vous devez évaluer si les conditions fiscales pour la déduction des 37,5% est toujours valide, donc voir si les conditions sont respectées. Puis, ce qu'il va falloir également considérer, c'est le nombre d'utilisateurs. Dans cette industrie des jeux, donc, il est nécessaire de considérer le nombre d'utilisateurs, il est d'environ 2 millions. Même si, malgré les faits que nous vous avons présentés ici, cet investissement reste risqué puisque l'entreprise ne génère actuellement pas assez de revenus. Donc, nous ne vous recommandons pas d'aller de l'avant avec cet investissement en question. Je passe la parole maintenant à ma collègue Stéphanie qui va vous expliquer les autres opportunités.
Another proposal that was introduced to us was the Bosses 102. This is based off of a previous game that was released called Bosses 101, which had tremendous success. So obviously one of the main reasons for this proposal would be the small risk associated with it. Because obviously it's based off the name brand associated with Bosses 101 and its previous customers associated to that brand. Also, it was also mentioned that the promotion needed would be able to be reduced because a lot of the promotion would be based on the promotion that was used to create the first brand of the first game, Bosses 101. Also, in addition to this, it was stated that 60 to 80% of the revenues that were created on the Bosses 101 would be able to be attained in Bosses 102. Judging by this is a tremendous amount of money. Sales would be just over $10 million, and even the cost associated with this, even adding an extra 3 employees which would be required, would not even come close to these sales figures. So clearly this would be a very promising proposal to follow through with. However, looking at the future of this company and where it could take you, sticking with the current state might not be the best option. Because right now, the market is changing. So by sticking with this, you might lose the opportunity of first mover advantage, and you might lose potential customers in the future. So another proposal that was introduced was the console game. Like the other proposal, it offers a lot of profits with it. However, like I said, there are many reasons against it as well. Firstly, the first reasons for it would be many of the competitors are approaching the end of their life cycle. And this means that they're freezing their game. They're not setting out new games, and this freezes the growth of the company. They're going to stop making as much money, and they're just going to stick to the status quo where they are now. This would mean that they're missing out on capturing a lot of the market share that could be available to them in the future. Also, another reason for choosing this approach would be the low competition. It's been stated that it's possible that a lot of the competition would be releasing their consoles in late 2014. So if we hire the employees necessary and get this released in the next couple months to the end of the year, this would be a huge mover advantage for us and it would allow us to capture this share. So other reasons against the console game would be the huge time commitment. As stated, there's a minimum of 200,000 labor hours. This is tremendous according to the size of the company and the number of employees they have right now. So either they have to have a huge spending commitment on hiring new employees, or this would not be possible. Also, it was suggested that perhaps they could use current employees' saved codes from their previous employer. However, this would be very dangerous because this could be considered theft because this employee was doing this work while they're at their previous employer. So this is not an option and should not be chosen. As such, 200,000 is the minimum amount of hours it would take. Another reason against entering the console, choosing the console game approach would be the entry to a new market. Currently, they're not in this market, and by entering it would be extremely risky. The success would be very difficult to tell, so I don't believe that this would be a good option. As I said in the previous proposal, both of these ideas are great in terms of revenues generated, but in terms of looking at the future of the company, it may not be the best idea because it's sticking in the status quo and looking at areas that are stable and that aren't offering you a huge opportunity to grow as a company and take advantage of the changing momentum in the industry that's going on right now. So now I'm going to pass it off to Miriam to look at some other issues.
There were many other issues in the case, so in the management system, so we'll now talk about those. Right now, your current situation, there's no project tracking. Employees don't enter the hours that they do in the different project. They they switch from one project to the other without really tracking which one is being worked on. The compensation is not based on performance, and no data is being recorded to be being reviewed by management. Therefore, the tools needed that we will talk about more in detail in the next slides are control measures, performance indicators, and performance management. So first, it's important to have a clear vision, mission, and objectives, and to communicate it to employees. Right now, the job type descriptions are not clear, and employees are doing tasks that are not in their job descriptions. Therefore, the job descriptions should be revised, and the objectives should be included in those job descriptions so that the employees can meet those objectives, be reviewed on them, evaluate on them. The performance indicators that we recommend for your organization to evaluate your different projects are return on investment for your different games, enhancing the importance of tracking the hours put into different projects to evaluate how profitable they are. Also, to evaluate the dollar amount per day for games to test how successful it is, so that they should hit the target of 3 cents to 8 cents, which is the average industry range, and when they exceeded, to have higher compensation. Also, to have the conversion rate, so the number of clients who actually spend money on those free games to be within the average of 1% to 5%, and when they exceed that amount, they would be compensated accordingly. Therefore, the compensation, we recommend that the base salary should be increased to meet the market average, to attract employees, have a lower turnover rate. Right now, employees are leaving your organization. There are 2 that left in the last 2 months. It's costly to train employees that come in. It will cost less to increase the salary and have them stay with your organization in the longer term. The employee should also have a bonus that is in line with those performance indicators that are in line with their objectives. So therefore, you're able to achieve your goals. So when they achieve a target or exceed it, they would have the bonus that is based on that,
and that bonus would be communicated to them, they would clearly know what it is and what to do to achieve it. Therefore, they will be motivated to achieve their task. Other issues will now be talked about. First of all, the human resources management. There's no flowchart of the company that shows the company structure, who is responsible for which employee. It will be really important to do it, especially with the growth of your company. You started with 3 employees, grew to 15 in 3 years, and it's continued to grow. The market has a lot of room for expansion. Therefore, it's the time to do it now. Have a clear chart so you know. So when you add on to it, it's a lot more clear, less confusing, and you're sure that an employee does not relate to 2 different bosses, which could create confusion. Also, the job descriptions, like I mentioned earlier, must be clear and complete and updated. If you realize that an employee does tasks above and beyond what is in their job description and that it helps their job, it should be included in the job description. Therefore, if they happen to leave the organization, you could find someone else to replace them who fits those needs and have the company continue to move in the same direction. Another issue is the maintenance outsourcing. So we evaluated if you should outsource your maintenance for games that are a year old to India. So right now we'll look at the qualitative factor. If you do that, it will 3 times for new projects. Your 2 junior programmers who spend 80% of their time on this, which is not very rewarding and not the most interesting task, even though it is something that's very formative. It could be reduced from 80% to 20%. So they would still gain the advantage of gaining that training, but you would save from the amount of time and you could spend it on other projects to grow your company and develop new games. Also, the games are 1 year old, therefore they're already developed by your organization. The main bugs will have been fixed in the first year, so it's less risky to send them overseas if there are some delays and bugs. The main ones have already been fixed. The cons are that it could alter quality and there could be longer reaction delays for updates and bug fixing. And when we look at the financial analysis, if you do so, you will save $72,000 in a year for your maintenance costs internally. If you outsource, with the cost it would be $63,000. Next year, if you add the 2 games that you have right now that would not be outsourced, it would add $8,000 for those 2 games because it's $1,000 per additional game plus $250 per month for every additional game. Therefore, it would be less costly, and we think that the pros outweigh the cons, and therefore you should outsource the maintenance to India because it will permit you to grow your company and really focus on new games, and that even though it might alter the quality a little bit, not enough to upset your customers exponentially. There are management tools that you can use in your organization that you've asked us to discuss. So the first one that we believe is extremely important is to track the projects by counting hours. Your main cost for every project is human labor, and it should be tracked to every project the employees work on. And if they decide to work on different projects in their free time, they should have a specific amount of time to do it every week, and that should be tracked. So the main part should be done on the games in the company, with the other part to do their own creative work, but it should be tracked so that it's not counted on projects. So if you decide to go on the outside to do games for other companies, the clients might not be happy if you charge costs of the employees' free time for developing their games. Another tool you have mentioned is the balanced scorecard. So this is a tool that can help an organization go in one direction by evaluating all the important facets of the business in one way. So you have the financial, strategic, and resources. And for each category, you provide specific target, what needs to be achieved, and then you continually see what you do compared to those targets to monitor if you have achieved them, and you can adjust in real time to be able to reach your goals. So it's something that can help you, especially with this high growth, and to consolidate the different goals. So right now you have great creative ideas, you have great programming, and it would be good to add the financial to it and to be in line with the strategic, so you know exactly if you have achieved your target, if the games are successful, to be able to take out of the market the games that do not give you the same amount of money as the other games. We have also looked at the financing. So right now you have someone who is interested in buying your company, but as you have mentioned, one of you is not interested in selling your company. But if you would want not to lose control, you could sell it for 49% for $14.7 million, have this amount of financing, and still retain control. Or go with the 25% at $7.5 million. And this is how you can use your creativity and your passion and structure it with management accounting to reach your goals and continue to grow and provide good games to your customers. Thank you.
You did not talk about the opportunity we had to allow with DreamWorks to produce a game based on their movie release. So what about that?
Nous avons fait l'évaluation de ce projet. Donc, selon l'évaluation, ce projet, la valeur actualisée nette, pas la valeur actualisée nette, le rendement de ce projet pour l'année prochaine, parce que c'est un projet qui dure une seule année, donc le retour va être entre 380 et 650 millions. Puis ce projet, on va vous le remettre sur papier la semaine prochaine.
Can you clarify which projects you recommend us to actually go for? Because I understood you don't want us to go in Bosses 102, and you don't want us to buy the companies, and you don't want us to get purchased. So can you just clarify what's your plan of action regarding that?
We would like to move more towards where the industry is going, and that's more using the technology of your iPhone or Android. So a lot of these projects and proposals are based on areas that have very slow and stable diminishing returns. So that's why a lot of the proposals, they're great in terms of getting revenues and profits, but in terms of the future of your company, I think it's very important to choose the proposals that are more that would provide the greatest returns in the future and for the long-term stability of your company.
And so mobile is the way to go.
I think right now it's the fastest growing area. Obviously other areas are proving to be constant and are giving you a constant source of revenue. But in terms of your company and the size of it, you don't have that many employees. So a lot of these hours required to implement these proposals is extremely high. So if you were to choose between them, obviously a combination would be ideal. But you have to pick one unless you want to revamp your whole company and hire a bunch of people. So a lot of the options I think are great, but in terms of the future, I think that we should go towards the area with the greatest growth.
And what area is that? Is because mobile is Bosses 102. So if mobile is a high growth area, right? Why not go into that area?
Just as Bosses 102 is focusing on the past a lot, I think we should look at more creating new games and new areas to attract more customers. Because right now we've already attracted that segment of the population. I think we should be looking at more, for example, like the Wii, families, women, just other populations as well and other segments. So we should be looking at attracting a greater population. That seems to be doing very well for the Wii.
So your recommendation globally is to develop entirely new projects?
Yes.
Okay. I have a question for slide 16 about the KPI. You're suggesting us to check for existing games. You talked about the amount of dollars per day for each game and the conversion rate, but those are KPIs I think are intended to follow the performance of free-to-play games, but currently all the games we have on the market are games that are being sold at one-time transaction on the App Store. So what kind of KPI should we have for those games that are not free?
So be it the total amount of revenue that a game generates, the number of time it's sold, the amount of time it takes to regain the investment, and the popularity of the game, so how many times it has been downloaded.
and this would the amount of people who are actually playing that game. So these would be good tools to evaluate the success of a game and keep the ones that are most successful, and the ones that do not reach those targets could be taken out of the market, and then the employees would be compensated in accordance with the performance of the games they develop.
What is the reflection between the thought between outsourcing our support to India? It's the best way to interface with the client, and we're going to give that to unreliable people in India. What's your thought on that?
So like in the first year, you'll probably gain the most success out of that game, and you will still retain the revenue, but the maintenance would be done there, and that the customers won't really notice a major change from that being changed over there, because it's mostly the minor bugs, and if it takes a little bit more time, if it's in the following year, it's less critical than in the first year.
On slide 7, when you evaluated the opportunity of acquiring Forever Play, you mentioned that the expected revenues for 2013 would be those from 2012 measured by 2.11%. But on the slide, I see revenues multiplied by 2.11. So can you just clarify how you calculated the expected revenues?
Le changement entre l'année 2011 et l'année 2012 était d'environ... le changement était de multiplié de 2,11%, donc ça a été le rendement de 200% de changement pour le revenu. Puis,
Dans les fins de jeu,